Jakai Anderson is not planning to be an LSU Tiger. He's planning to go to SMU. Brian Smith from the Portal Podcast and a longtime recruiting analyst is here to discuss that. This is not a flip I think most people really had on their bingo cards, Brian, because SMU walks into LSU's backyard and grabs a blue chip wide receiver prospect of all the places. What's your initial take on what's happening here?
Does ice cream taste bad now? Is the world just changed that much? I mean,
bad ice cream tastes bad.
Okay, well, I've really never had bad ice cream. That's hard to do. I mean, you really got to screw up.
You do. You do.
I don't know, man. When I saw this, I literally did a double take. I'm like, nobody from New Orleans that commits to LSU ends up at SMU. No offense. That's just not how this world works, let alone a 4-star receiver. Name a position that a school's done better at than LSU at wide receiver in the last half dozen years.
Ohio State at wide receiver.
They're like one. Those two are like.
Yeah.
1A.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, 5 years wouldn't technically include the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase years. Technically. I get the point you're making. But from a positional standpoint, I don't know that there are a lot of other ones, quite frankly. Washington with defensive backs had a great run there for a while. It's kind of fizzled the last couple of years, but it was really good. I mean, there are not many. There are not many, to your point.
Yeah, so when I saw that, I'm like, did he do something, or is there something I don't know about? Because LSU needs receivers too, and they always recruit the Big Easy hard. So this is as perplexing as it gets. But, number one, SMU made the playoff last year. LSU did not. You got to give them credit for that. Number two, they've got Rhett Lashley and a pretty good passing game. And number three, this isn't going to shock anybody. It's probably a little easier to obtain early playing time in Dallas. Not picking on SMU again, but LSU's wide receiver room, it's gross. All the time. It's just really, really good. So those are my possibilities, but something is still very odd to me because I have a hard time seeing a kid from Louisiana turning down the Tigers after being committed and ending up with the Mustangs. You tell me where I'm wrong there.
Yeah, I don't think you are. I had a couple different thoughts that I want your reaction to for this kid. The first one I had was NIL, and I don't think that's some big, horrible, dirty word or anything like that when used in this context. I know plenty of people do see it that way, but SMU's pockets are as deep as literally any donor base in the country. Give me any school, you can put SMU up against them. I had that thought. I had the thought of, he's a 4-star receiver, but is he really that good? Or the third thought I had was what you brought up, which is, well, it's LSU and it's probably easier to go and play as a true freshman. So let's start with the NIL angle. Do you think that is primarily what came into play here, a factor? Your take?
It has to be at least some factor. I'm not saying it's top of the totem pole, but do you think LSU might be looking at the hometown discount? They probably try to get that. Don't kid yourself. You're trying to get some money saved back for the next portal, for out-of-state kids, etc. And maybe he said he wanted more, and they said no. Would that surprise me? Not at all. Secondarily, again, like your point, I want to reiterate, I've heard the same thing that Spence has heard. Their NIL base at SMU is legit, so do not discount it.
Yeah, and the other thought, is he just an okay prospect? Because I don't feel like LSU goes after just okay receivers, generally speaking. I mean, what do you make of this guy as a college receiver?
I mean, I think he should be very good. I mean, where he's from, I've seen some of his film, kind of fits the profile. Is there something I'm missing? I mean, I'm not the end-all be-all in this, and maybe LSU is going to get somebody else. That's possible. But as a rule, there's an old rule in this. If you're going to push somebody out of your class, doesn't matter the position, where they're from matters. If it's a kid from New Orleans, do you think LSU is going to push a New Orleans kid out? If they did, that's very politically risky. I can tell you firsthand that will not go over well with very important people down there. So I don't think that's what it is. I could be wrong, but I highly doubt that's the case.
I think the impact here for SMU is equally as large on the field because you have, someone that can come and be a part of your passing offense right away in 2026. I think it's equally, if not more impactful of kind of the big picture takeaway for Rhett Lashley and company, that they just walked into LSU's backyard and said, we're going to take that guy. I don't care what the reasoning is. Like, this is a new phenomenon that someone would, at any position, let alone wide receiver, would flip from LSU to SMU. And to your point, one team was in the playoff last year, one was not. Who's got a top 5 transfer portal class, top 2 transfer portal class this cycle? The LSU Tigers. Who's got, playoff expectations? You can argue that both of them do, but the other thing that popped into my head, Brian, when this happened was the Bryce Underwood situation and, how that went down, because that was primarily based on what I have seen and been told, primarily based on NIL. That Bryce Underwood flipped to Michigan. He might be the Wolverines starting quarterback this fall. I hope that he is. But after that happened, I kind of got the sense that the donor base in Baton Rouge collectively got together and said, we can't let this happen anymore. I don't care if it's Michigan. I don't care if it's Oregon, Ohio State, anybody. Like, we can't be out here getting outbid for these sorts of kids. And when you go out and get a highly rated transfer portal class, you have to have NIL dollars, right? So that's why, we're talking about it on the show today, because SMU going out and doing this, I think, speaks to what their NIL collective has, but also speaks to the brand power that they're starting to accumulate in the eyes of college football recruits.
Yeah, I think it matters that they went to the playoff, and like SMU went and out spent some money. They got some good players. They've already got some good commitments. They just barely lost out to a Notre Dame on a big-time defensive tackle recruit recently. When was the last time SMU was in contention for a big-time defensive tackle? I mean, I don't remember it. They changed their face through NIL and winning. They weren't projected to do what they did last year. They went out and kicked some butt. Good for them. I think it's kind of cool for college football. And now they're getting in on lists and getting visits from kids that 2-3 years ago would have been a pipe dream. So let's give them a little credit. They deserve it. And it wouldn't shock me. They got Jennings back and they got some other good players, Lashley back. They should be getting more of these kids because they should be pretty good again this year, I think. Of course, anything's possible in college football in the portal era, but I still think that way. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a few more flips like this, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and what's unique about SMU, Brian, is they're the ACC school in Texas, the only one. And for whatever that's worth to kids, the idea of going and playing on the East Coast is something that SMU can sell. That might be a detraction for some kids, but for other kids, it might be unique because you might have a better shot of playing right away or competing for a conference championship more quickly at SMU than maybe you would at some of the Big 12 schools. So I think competition-wise, you're on similar footing, Big 12 and the ACC. I'm not saying identical. I'm just saying similar, which I think can be a real selling point of, hey, we're not the Big 10, we're not the SEC, but you know what that means? You can compete for playing time as a true freshman. You'll be a full-time starter by the time you're a true sophomore. And at the Big 10 SEC schools, depending on which one you go to, it might not be the case. And when you're going to the Big 12, it's a lot harder to sell the conference championship pedigree because everybody can do it, right? The competitive balance over there is much more significant. SMU could go to 3 conference championship games in their first 5 years in the league, and I wouldn't be shocked. They're already 1 for 1.
You hit on all the points, really. The playing time is a big deal. East Coast, they just won. They're in Dallas. It's got a rich alumni base. Like, all that stuff matters. Kids are more savvy, and they're not quite as loyal as they used to be. You can look at any state, even Louisiana, which is one of the hardest to get players out of. More kids leave than ever out of their home base. State of Florida, over half the kids leave. When I was growing up, I got of the top 25, 30 kids in Florida, minimum 20 of those kids were going to Florida, Florida State, or Miami. Those days are over. So there are a lot of reasons to see it. It's kind of cool in its own way because, as you like to say, it's the greatest sport on earth because college football is so unpredictable. This is another piece to that puzzle. Absolutely.